Pokemon Masters, Birdkeeper Toby here, and it's time for the map breakdown. Welcome. I'm going to try and do this all in one take, and in front of me I have the map of the Hisui region, which hopefully, Hisui region, I'm trying to get the pronunciation right on it. I'll get there eventually. And in fact, underneath this map of the Hisui region, I have what it will become in the future. The Sinnoh region, the region we all know well from Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, or I guess Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl now. I have that underneath this image, underneath this map, and I'm going to slowly use my eraser tool to get rid of areas that we know are like the areas of Sinnoh, like that one I've just crossed out. Clearly Snow Point City, that is the Snow Point Temple up the top. You can see that right there. That's Snow Point Temple. This is Snow Point City. And we know that that's likely the case, and as you look in the western portion, eastern portion, you can see, if you zoom in on the map, you can see East Sea Shallows. So this is the east, and down here we can see West Sea Shallows. This is the west, which means that's the north and that's Snow Point City. However, Pokemon might be taking creative liberties. This could kind of be like Hyrule and Zelda. There's like 15 different Zelda games set all across the Zelda timeline, sometimes hundreds of years apart, sometimes decades apart, sometimes tens of thousands of years apart. And Hyrule changes a lot in its shape. Yes, there's always a Gerudo Desert. Yes, there's always a Temple of Time or a Lost Wood. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. Sometimes they're in the north, sometimes they're in the west. Sometimes Hyrule is a castle in the north or the center. These things change over time, and it might be the case that this is to be treated in the same way as The Legend of Zelda, Legends Arceus. It's a legend, and that there isn't a one-to-one with modern-day Sinnoh. This is a story that you would find in Sinnoh folklore, and thus Sinnoh, while it has many similar traits, like Snow Point Temple, it's not going to be exactly the same, and we can see differences here. So I'm going to start off Snow Point City. We know that this is the north, and so you'd think, well, we just overlay the map, right? We've got Jubilife Village down here. Surely this is Jubilife City. Except, based on the shape of the map, that doesn't make sense. Let's just come down from Snow Point City a little bit. And first of all, we can see what would be, and I don't know if you can see this as part of the modern map, this is like Iron Island that's like over here. This is Iron Island. And this is connecting up to Snow Point, Foroma Town, Eterna Forest, and Eterna City on this side of Mount Cornet. Obviously, we know we've got Mount Cornet in the middle. Now, instinctually, you want to look down here to where this tree is and to where these bugs are, where this Wurmple is, and go, well, that's Eterna City. That's Eterna Forest, right? Because it's the forest area, but forests change location over time. And if that is the case, then Iron Island is maybe this little peninsula that's out here that is still attached to the mainland. Possible, maybe, maybe not. This peninsula doesn't appear on the original Sinnoh map. But if this is the rough layout, and again, this is a very rough way of doing it, then what would that make Jubilife Village? Because that wouldn't be the location of Jubilife City. Instead, that would be Canalive City? At first, that seems ridiculous. It's Jubilife Village. Surely Jubilife Village becomes Jubilife City. But the two cities are next to each other. And actually, it could make sense that once they were one big city, one village that grew into a big city, that then separated into two cities. That is totally possible. And actually, when we look at Canalive, and I'm gonna, when we look at Canalive, we can see that there's like that river running through it. Hang on, let's bring it back. You can see there's that river running through it. And actually, we know that Jubilife Village has a river running through it. It would also make sense for the Canalive Library to be the home of all folklore, that it is the oldest town in all of Sinnoh, or one of the oldest towns. Now, the other areas we know we can look to right away, I'm going to put Jubilife City in, so maybe Jubilife City ends up around here. You might think that's total nonsense, or you might think it's just very inaccurate. We can clearly see three lakes of Sinnoh. There's the one that's up north, there's the one that's right there, Lake Verity, and then there's Lake Valor, which is that Valor? Or is that the other one? I think that's Valor, which is right there. So that lines up, we've got our three lakes, we've got this, and that means that what would be Twinleaf Town is maybe this little peninsula down here, and that the earth moves and changes over time, and just, you know, Pokemon powers. I mean, a Pokemon uses Rock Slide, and suddenly there's a new path. That would make sense to how these things are all connected, and put Sandgem Town somewhere down here. You can see sort of roughly how I'm going about this, that if you were to tilt the Sinnoh map on its side a little bit and then separate things a little bit, you would end up with this version of Sinnoh that we've got. But that does mean Jubilife, maybe something happens to Jubilife Village, or it becomes something else. I don't know. As we look into the grasslands here, I guess this would become the Pal Park, which I actually don't have. I realize I don't have that one behind. But I think that's pretty much the whole eastern side of Sinnoh on that side of, western side of Sinnoh on that side of Mount Cornet. What's down here? Well, we can see an area that really clearly resembles the Great Marsh, and it would make sense, this marshy swampland down here, to become the Great Marsh of Sinnoh. So we've got that, and we know that that is that side of Mount Cornet. So what's on this side of Mount Cornet's big central stem? Well, Orbro Mine. The Orbro Mine is, and there's this little area down here, this rocky area. Perhaps this is the Orbro Mine, or perhaps Orberg, I'm probably saying it wrong. The Orberg Mine that's in between these two parts of Mount Cornet, and you can see 1 and 2, those two stems. And then this side would be the Solaceon ruins, and maybe that's what this rock is over here. Maybe this is Solaceon Town leading down into the Great Marsh. However, we sort of have lost Veilstone and Hearthome City. Those are just completely gone. Now, granted, those cities probably didn't exist at this time, but I really don't know quite where they would be placed. Perhaps they would be hidden behind Mount Cornet based on this perspective view, and this up here would end up being Celestic Town, this little base camp that's up here. That's Celestic Town. Okay, but Toby, first of all, Iron Island is a peninsula, fine. What about the Nightmare Island of Darkrai and Cresselia? Full Moon and Nightmare Island, you can't see them. You can see people swimming out in their boat to them, but I don't think you can see them. It makes sense as well, Finneon being over there, because I think Finneon is like pretty commonly in the Canalive area. And then what's going on over here with this big crescent moon shape? And in fact, where is the lake that will become the Lake of Giratina? And the answer to that is, I don't know. Maybe it hasn't been created yet. Maybe that crater hasn't happened. You can see this volcano off in the distance, and I think it's pretty likely that that volcano is, well, Stark Mountain, right? It's the only volcano in Sinnoh. So that's fine. So then that leaves this area to be Sunny Shore City, and then to be the Pokemon League, which, if you attach, and I'll get the full map up now, I'm going to bring this right to the top. If you have a look at the full map of Sinnoh, I'm kind of feeling that if this area here, if this was attached to this, to the mainland, you would have a sort of semi-crescent moon shape. These rocks, if they're over here, you would have a sort of crescent moon shape, which we can see obviously over here in the top of the bay. So that's my rough overlay. Eterna Forest is actually an icy tundra, which we know in the games that Eterna Forest didn't used to be there. Like, I'm pretty sure that's in the lore for Eterna City. And then on top, or for the Eterna Forest, and on top of that, what else did I notice? Oh yeah, I noticed that there's pirate ships that are on the map somewhere. I think in this top bay, perhaps this area becomes, I don't know, Sunny Shore City down the line. That's in the trailer. But yeah, that's the best I could come up with. Looking at that, and I'm glad I've done this video in a whole take. That is what I'm thinking as the map of Sinnoh. It's just a map of Sinnoh tilted to the side. The east and west are still the same. We know that that makes Snow Point still the north. The Shellos being there are very helpful. And you can kind of see how these towns will come together, but we have lost Veilstone and Hearthome, although I guess they would be big wilderness areas, and yeah, they would be kind of covered up by the positioning of Mount Cornet, with Mount Cornet's central stem, which is this one here in the game, covering them up behind the mountain. So that's that, and then that's Veilstone up there. But what do you think? This is just a quick extra video. I wanted to get this out before anyone else does because I'm away this weekend and I just kind of like wanted to give my 2 cents on this. I was in a Discord call again with GatorX, who helped me out with my last theory, just kind of talking through this and soundboarding the idea of them. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments. Is this close? Is this right? Have you noticed anything I haven't? What is the deal with this big tree? Is this the area that's going to become the Pal Park? We'll find out. And speaking of the Pal Park, look at that, by the way. Down at the Pal Park, there's a little hole into the side of Mount Cornet. I wonder what they're going to do with this area. Let me know what you think in the comments. And of course, so hi, Pokemon Masters.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a Pokemon Master. Aster!
Thank you so much, those of you who have gone above and beyond to support me on Patreon, and a special shout out to the big patrons of this month: JD Gottlich, PokeBliss, Matty Bar, and Michael Hornschuch.